Most of the time, we feel like we're just passengers in our own lives, just along for the ride. But what if that's not the whole story? What if your mind, your very own consciousness, actually has the power to select the reality you experience? Well, that's what we're diving into today. This incredible, mind-bending idea where science and spirituality might actually be saying the same thing.
So let's just put the question right out there. Can your mind choose which universe you live in? And no, this isn't science fiction. This is a real question that physicists and philosophers are wrestling with. We're going to explore this stunning possibility that your intent, your focus, could be the very tool that navigates you through the infinite branches of the multiverse.
Okay, so to even wrap our heads around this, we have to start with a huge question. Where does reality even come from? Science, it points to the Big Bang, this massive material event. But there's a much older story, one that suggests reality is a product of consciousness. Not an explosion of matter, but an explosion of thought. And that's where we're going to start.
Believe it or not, long before anyone was talking about quantum mechanics, some spiritual traditions had a framework that looks a whole lot like a blueprint for choosing your reality. In this worldview, your intent isn't just some passing feeling. Oh no, it's an active, creative force that can literally build or unbuild the world around you.
Think about this for a second. In this ancient view, our thoughts have real, tangible consequences. So a negative intention, what some might call a sin, isn't just a moral slip-up, it's a creative act. It's like you're a generator, spinning up a dark, parallel universe, a whole timeline where that negative thought becomes real.
So if you accidentally generate a bad reality with a bad thought, is there an undo button? Well, according to this, yes. The mechanism is repentance. Prayer in this context is the act of realigning your personal intent with a divine one. And this focused will is so powerful, it doesn't just get you forgiveness, it literally cancels the entire negative timeline. It's like you're editing reality itself, just through focused faith.
Okay, let's jump forward a few thousand years, from ancient faith to modern physics, and see how this idea plays out. What's absolutely wild is that science is now describing a process that sounds, well, remarkably similar. Physicists are looking at how the mind's focus could actually be the engine that selects our path through the quantum foam of infinite possibilities.
And this brings us to something called the quantum Zeno effect. The core idea is pretty simple. Just looking at something changes it. If you watch a quantum system nonstop, you can actually stop it from changing. You know the old saying, a watched pot never boils? This is the quantum version of that, and it suggests your focused attention can literally lock a piece of reality in place. Now, this isn't just some weird quantum quirk that happens in a lab. It connects directly to our everyday lives. The philosopher William James basically defined willpower as the effort of holding one thought steady in your mind. You know that feeling of mental strain when you're really concentrating on something? Quantum physics might have just given us an explanation for it.
So here's the theory, coming from physicist Henry Stapp. He says your mental effort is like asking nature a series of super-fast questions. By focusing hard on a single plan, you're repeatedly observing one specific pathway in your brain. This kicks in the quantum Zeno effect, stabilizing that thought, locking it in, and stopping your mind from jumping to other possibilities. You are actively, physically, choosing one branch of reality over all others.
Okay, so holding a thought in place is one thing. But what about that spark, that specific instant where potential becomes reality, that moment of conscious choice? For a possible answer to that, we have to go even deeper inside the brain, to a theory called orchestrated objective reduction, or ORC-OR.
So, ORC-OR theory from Sir Roger Penrose and Stuart Hameroff. What they're proposing is that consciousness isn't just a byproduct of the brain's wiring. They think it actually comes from quantum events happening inside these tiny structures in our neurons called microtubules. In this model, every conscious choice you make is what's called a collapse, where a whole wave of possibilities gets narrowed down to a single concrete action. Your consciousness is the final step, the selector that turns maybe into is.
So, we've looked at how we might be choosing our reality, but what does that feel like from the inside? How does our awareness actually navigate this ocean of possibilities? And, get this, could it even influence the past? So, the many worlds interpretation of quantum mechanics says every possible outcome does happen, just in a separate universe, which is a crazy thought. So where are you in all that? Well, a great metaphor is that your consciousness surfs the multiverse. You're riding the wave of moments that logically and consistently follows from your previous experience, carving a single coherent path through an infinity of worlds.
And this surfing idea leads to a really startling concept,
quantum immortality. It's a kind of passive reality selection. And the logic is actually super simple. You can only experience a universe where you exist to experience it. So if an event splits into two timelines, one where you live, one where you don't, your awareness just continues down the path where you survived. From your point of view, you will always find a path forward.
Okay, I'm going to need you to buckle up for this next one, because it's a real mind-bender. We've been talking about choosing the future, but what if your choices right here in the present could actually influence the past? This is the wild idea of retrocausality, cause and effect, but backwards in time.
So just look at this loop here. We know from brain scans that before you consciously make a choice, there's a buildup of unconscious brain activity in the past. Well, retrocausality suggests that your conscious choice, made in the present, actually sends a signal backwards in time to influence that very activity. It's like your decision reaches back to help create the conditions that led to it in the first place, making sure the past perfectly aligns with the choice you're about to make. Wow.
All right, we have journeyed through ancient faith, through the quantum dynamics of the brain, and right into the very nature of time itself. So now, let's connect all these dots and see the stunningly consistent picture that starts to emerge when we put it all together.
I mean, just look at the parallels here. It's incredible. Whether we call it repentance, or the quantum Zeno effect, or OR, the basic mechanism is identical. In theology, focused prayer cancels a reality. In physics, focused attention stabilizes one. In every single one of these models, it's the focused intent of a conscious mind that acts as the ultimate selector, the ultimate chooser.
So even though these ideas come from wildly different places, ancient texts and modern physics labs, they all seem to be pointing to the same fundamental truth. Consciousness isn't just a passive observer. It's not a camera recording the movie of your life. It's the active, focused instrument that selects our path, collapsing infinite potential into the single unfolding story that is our lives.
And that leaves us with one final, very powerful question for you to think about. If your attention truly is the chisel that carves your universe, what reality are you choosing to create with your thoughts, with your focus, right now, in this very moment?